Here we go. Jasmine Crockett has put herself in another tenable position there for the Democrat Party, as they have chosen to be on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue that the American voters care about. But the Democrats, as they've gone and they've pushed all these people out of their party, as they push more and more further to the left, they are now stuck with the people like Jasmine Crockett, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Gavin Newsom. See, they no longer have anyone in the middle left. And this is being by people like Donald Trump, who found this absolutely hilarious, as we do too. What they have, or what are they going to run on? See, this is the big issue for the Democrats and their party. Who do they run to, and who can they run on? That's why they have absolutely no one that they can put in the front of going for 2028. And then, in addition to that, why they're so panicking with the 2026 midterms, as now all of their eggs are in this one single basket, that they must stop Trump in 2026, but really to stop you, the American voters, in 2026, as they have promised repeatedly that they are going to take back the House. And once they take back the House, then they are going to spend the next 2 years obstructing Donald Trump, but really obstructing you, the American voters, for what you voted for. As Donald Trump won the popular vote, more than 77 million voters voted for Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump also won all 7 swing states. And then the other parts they don't like to talk about in addition to that is Trump not only won all 7 swing states, not only won the popular vote, but he also made grounds in every single demographic except for what they call like Black women. He made grounds with Latinos, with Asians, right, from all of South America, all throughout Europe, and all through the white people that the left has gone and has tried to demoralize. It's one of those weird things in politics where the Democrats, they try to push everybody out of their party, right? Because they try to divide in this haves and have not line. The haves being all the white people versus all the non-haves, right? Being all the people of color. I mean, that is the entire Democrats' platform right now. The haves and have-nots. But America just doesn't break down that way, and they're realizing that way too late, as they've gone and they try to push all this agenda onto the American voters, and it has not worked. This is because America just has a certain amount of American exceptionalism to them, right? We just have this way about our freedoms, our right to pursue happiness, that does not align with the Democrats' party. And because they're on their own little elitist bubble, they have not grasped this for a single bit. Because here in America, it really doesn't matter what your skin color is. And it really doesn't matter what your background is. What matters is who are you as a person and what choices are you going to make in your life. That's the very center and gravitation to be pulled to the American exceptionalism, to our way of life. The Democrats, they stand directly opposed to that very fundamental belief in the American system. Because the Democrats, they see things as the haves and have-nots. Now, normal Marxism will be divided amongst the people that own like land versus the people that do not own land. But there's too much wealth in America, so that does not work. So instead, what they've tried to do now is they're trying to divide it along racial lines. And they kicked all the white people out of their party, and then they demanded that all the people that weren't white were on the Democrat side. This going all the way back to at least Barack Hussein Obama, if not further than that. The issue, of course, with that is that the American people just don't think that way. And so the Democrat Party has become completely and utterly unpopular with the American people because of how they have acted towards you. Now they're on their back legs and they're absolutely scrambling, trying to keep power. As that is the one thing, the only thing that the Democrats care about is their power, their right to rule over you. As they see themselves as your betters, and they see themselves as the elite. They think that they were born to rule. Exact opposite of what we fought for our freedoms. So now, because they're on their back foot, they're seeing that they have been morally right as they decide themselves, and that because they are so morally right and they are so just, that then for that Donald J. Trump must be bad. So they do it for their same Marxist lens that they always do. They start with the end, just like equity, and then they work their way backwards. So Donald Trump must be bad. And then they start looking for all the things that really must make Donald Trump bad. And then when they can't find it, they then make it all up. Right? Then they start calling you all the slander they normally do. They'll call you a racist Republican. None of that is true, and they don't even care. It's all about slandering you to shut you up, and the Democrats will try to get you to submit to their rule. The party of hatred, the Democrats, miserable women and weak men who desire nothing else through their hatred to have power. And now that their judicial coup is failing, they're now desperate to try to take back the House. And to do that, of course, they have to win enough seats, but they don't have a realistic map to do so. And because of this, now Texas, you've seen that this has been on the news a lot lately. Now Texas is going, and they're very likely going to add 5 more seats to the Republican side. And that would just about kill any Democrat opportunity or chance to take back the House and thus obstruct the will of the American people for the last 2 years of Donald Trump's administration. Crazy, I know, but that's where they're left at. So this goes with Jasmine Crockett. As the Democrats, they have nobody left to put in front of a national audience. I mean, I really hope they try Gavin Newsom. And so because of that, Donald Trump, he's just Donald Trump, right? I mean, he's going to say what he says. And he's not a political figure, and he doesn't have that filter. And I think that's one of the many things that have made Donald Trump so popular with you, the American voters. It's because he just speaks his mind, right? He'll say no F's given, or I don't know what F they are doing. And here with Jasmine Crockett, right, accusing her, this is Donald Trump's words, of being low IQ. Investigating DEI got her into her position, not through merit. Do you agree or disagree? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you, but that is Donald Trump's words. Now we go on to CNN and Caitlin Collins, and she's going to play this clip back for Jasmine Crockett. And here's the perfect opportunity for Jasmine Crockett to sell to you, the American voters. But instead, what she does is she goes on this wild word salad. So first, here is Jasmine Crockett as she hears that part played back to her.
Crockett, the great old David Crockett. But you have this woman Crockett, very low IQ person. Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now she goes in and she this is Caitlin Collins, who goes and she starts trying to frame this in a way that's a softball for Jasmine Crockett. Because understand that Caitlin Collins, she is different than any other Democrat propagandist. There is not one journalistic bone in her body. See, Jasmine Crockett hates Donald Trump, and Caitlin Collins hates Donald Trump, and CNN is more than happy to put this here on the TV. As they are not there to inform you, this corporate media is there to try to manipulate you. So but now Jasmine Crockett, even with getting a softball, as she goes and she defends her low IQ, according to Donald Trump. Okay, that's Donald Trump's opinion. Now, whether you agree with Donald Trump, you don't agree with Donald Trump, he's allowed to have his opinion. Back on the screen. All right, there we go. So let's try this again. So here is her response.
Listen, he has nothing of substance to contribute when it comes to critiquing me. There's a lot that I talk about. For instance, we've just had an entire...
Hey, what substance does Jasmine Crockett have? As her story's going to go on through, see, she just uses a lot of words that mean nothing. I mean, she opens her mouth and words come out. but there's no actual definite solution or anything that she gives. All she does is just like the Democrats have, is just to absolutely hate Donald Trump because you dared to vote for him when they told you all the terrible things that would happen, but they didn't happen.
Our conversation about gerrymandering and redistricting and why it's bad. And instead of him being able to elaborate on the fact that I'm unable to make a cogent argument or something like that, and then back into his argument that I'm low IQ.
But he has, and so has Texas. And the Democrats, they have absolutely no answer for this. As they're saying when Texas is that, all the Democrat states, they all gerrymander too. So none of these people, none of CNN, none of people like Jasmine Crockett, none of them care one bit about gerrymandering the House seats. What they care about is that the Democrats can do it and the Republicans cannot. Because the only thing that they have left is that they must take back the House. And if they do not take back the House, then they can't cut off Donald Trump for 2 more years. Because they will waste those 2 years on investigations if the Democrats win. And they will waste those 2 years on impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. And they will refuse to pass any single bills that you, the American people, voted for. And so she can't answer, why is it okay? Why is it okay for like Illinois? Why is it okay for California? Why is it okay for New York? Why is it okay for all these Democrat states to gerrymander and rig so they have more House seats? I mean, we have proved the evidence. Okay, the evidence goes along like this. About 40% of any of those states vote Republican. So if you have a fair and you have an honest, then gerrymandering in those states with the correct amount of House seats, then you would have about 40% of those seats that were going to the Republican Party. But that's not what happened at all. Instead, it's usually less than 20%, even though it's 40% of the people that live there, less than 20% typically in those states go to Republican seats. See, that's how badly these things are gerrymandered for the Democrats' favor. But that's okay. I haven't seen Caitlin Collins cry one single tear when the Democrats do it. When all of a sudden the Republicans fight back, it's this big threat to our democracy. So those are the facts. Just like Donald Trump and just like Texas has pointed out. But of course, Jasmine Crockett, just like with the rest of the Democrats, when the narrative is not fit by the facts, they just ignore the facts. Well, he hasn't presented, a single case for, he's just using words. And the ironic is he has. The thing is, it's Jasmine Crockett who can't make the case for what the Democrats did. And so then she just has to use empty words and all that attitude.
He just knows how to throw that insult, but it's a common insult when it comes to people of color. He just threw the same exact insult as Charlemagne the God.
There you go. All right. So, of course, where they go? Immediately, right. So they can't defend their position because the Democrats, they can't fight in the world of ideals. They cannot win based off an actual argument. They have no facts on their side. They're on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue that the American voters vote on right now. I mean, what's the one thing the Democrats can push for? They can't run on the economy, not what Joe Biden did for the last 4 years. They can't run on the border. They left it open. They can't run on the tens of millions of illegal immigrants that they allowed to come into our country. And they can't also run in on that they now don't want those illegal aliens deported. They can't run on women's rights. I mean, what is a single issue that the Democrats can run on that the American voters care about? Not a one. And that's why she has to do these word salads. And that's why every time when they're called out, because if this was an actual neutral journalist, would be the follow-up question. Well, if you're so against Texas redistricting, then why aren't you against Illinois redistricting? Why aren't you against Chicago? Why aren't you against New York? Why aren't you against California? It's a fair question, but she has no answer. And so then immediately they go to one hoax to the next hoax and pretend that they're poor little victims. He's just attacking all the people of color and it's so bad. But that's not how America breaks down. The Democrats wanted to desperately. They want all the white people on the bad side and all the non-white people on the good side. That is the heart of the Democrat platform right now. Just like she said. And then immediately when they're called out for their actions, it's the Democrats. It's Jasmine Crockett who sits there and pretends that she's a victim when she's not a victim. She's just stating facts. And she doesn't like it, so immediately pretends she's a victim.
And so I want people to see him and understand who he is. This is a person that has a problem with people of color, period. I don't care how many black MAGA out there with their hats. I want to be clear, when we look at who it is that he's kicking out of this country is people of color. When we look at who he always disrespects and says that they are low IQ, even though when you look at his cabinet, this has to be the most.
All right, that again is just blatantly lying. And Caitlin Collins just lets her go on about it. Okay, the Democrats, they have not learned why they have lost. They have not learned why so many people are coming up to the right side now and joining the Republican Party. This is the reason why, is because they keep talking like this and they still think that they can get away with it. They're just convinced that if they continue to just lie over and over and over again, that the lie will then become the truth. And they do not realize that the Democrats, that they are the boy who cried sheep far too many times now. And now no one believes a word they say, except the very small audience that's going to hate Donald Trump no matter what. But that's not how you win national elections. Because you're going to have roughly a third of the American people are going to be on the left. And then you're going to have roughly a third of the American voters are going to be on the right. And then you have the largest third is typically the independent thinkers. Or they're somewhere left, somewhere right. They're normally usually kind of more socially leaning left, yet more of economically leaning right. And it just depends on the issue or what they're talking about that day and what side of the aisle they feel on. That is the vast majority of the United States. But the Democrats, through this kind of talk and through this kind of propaganda, have kicked them all out of their party. So continue to learn no lessons, Democrats, please. Please continue to talk like this. Please continue to think that half the country that you've somehow magically clumped together just will go along with anything you say because you tell them to. Please do it.
Most incompetent cabinet we have ever had in the history of this country, when we're talking about people that literally have the ability to drop bombs or order that bombs be dropped or make recommendations that bombs be dropped, and they literally don't know how to get the signal chat right. So
again, absolutely lying about the signal chat. This is all they have. Just to lie over and over again. To go back, what happened is that you now had someone who added in a journalist into the signals chat, and it wasn't Pete Hegseth. Even though the Democrats, they tried to pretend it was. You know how they move so fast and they lie. And then when they got called out, what did they do? They just moved on to the next hoax. Now it's just a general signals chat. And how many of you maybe even remember what they're talking about? But that's what I'm talking about. And then in the signals chat that the reporter was not supposed to be in, however, there was no classified information even discussed in that signals chat. And then the operations she's talking about went flawlessly. It went perfectly. There was no issues in that attack run. So again, lie and learn nothing, Democrats. Please do it. And that we're up against a break. When we come back, we have this New York Times article as they are now, as Jasmine Crockett is trying to push for this hoaxes about Texas and their House and their seats. Now you have the New York Times running cover for the Democrats on illegal immigration as they use all the normal words that the Democrats normally do, is trying to misrepresent to you, the American people, by using words incorrectly. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more as we're going to expose them right after this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Lauren Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all, because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the CASHLOREN show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. Well, Jasmine Crockett has put herself with the rest of the Democrats in an impossible situation as they have put themselves on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue that the American voters care about. And welcome back to the show, folks. I'm great to be with you here again as I'm your host, CASHLOREN. We're making liberals cry tears that are saltier than you-know-whose fries. And before we get into this next story, I got a question for you. Are you tired of doing work that doesn't matter? Are you sick of having a job? We are now looking for a business-to-business salesperson to help us sell ad revenue. There is 100% commission with no caps on what you can earn. If you're into sales and you are a self-starter and you are a hard worker, we are looking for you. You can go on Indeed, the CASHLOREN show, and apply now. And we were setting up interviews here in this next week or two. Hope to bring you on board. But now we have over here, we're now switching over to the New York Times, who, like Caitlin Collins and the CNN, are pretending that they are somehow neutral journalists. There is nothing neutral about these people. They are propagandists for the Democrat Party, every single last one of them. And this article is talking about illegal immigration, but they won't use those words because if they use actual words of what the definitions are, then you, the American people, would never come to the conclusion that they want you to come to. So instead, what they do is they try to push propaganda. They lie to you by first telling you part of a truth, and then they will tell you a lie in the second part. And if you knew the full truth, then you would never, ever come to the conclusion that they want you to come to in the first place. See, that is the main way that they lie. And this is no difference here with New York Times. In this article, as it talks about illegal immigration, watch how they word all this stuff to try to gain fake sympathy for people who never should have been here in the first place. As the headline reads, inside Trump's new tactic to separate immigrant families. Well, wow, that sounds really, really bad and horrible. I mean, why would Trump separate immigrant families? It sounds terrible. I'm so mean. I'm so angry. I'm so enraged. How could he do that? See, that's their goal. Their whole goal is to lie to you, to get you so upset and so angry that you won't stop and think for a single second. But we are going to continue to expose them every single time. So what is missing from that headline? As the New York Times knows, and everyone else that does news articles or pieces, is that the front end matters the most. Because most people will only see the headline, they'll react to it, and they'll never dig down in the weeds to find out what they're talking about. This is trying to manufacture rage for what the Democrat Party wants. Just another hit piece from the corporate media. And in here it goes, it sees their names and they face a tough extradition choice. And it says that they could leave the United States with their children and return to native Russia, where they have fled seeking asylum. Okay, so the first part of this is that when someone comes here and they request asylum, we don't have to grant it, nor do we have to keep them here. See, that is all factually, blatantly lying to you, the American people, on the New York Times. And they know it, so that's why they say separate immigrant families. Because they said illegal aliens, which is what they are, then you would never go for what they're trying to push on you. And then, of course, this is their brand new kids in cages hoaxes, right? How Trump's locking up these kids in cages. Like, remember Major Mano was crying because kids were in cages? But then that hoax too, Married to a Truth, what was a lie? It was Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden who built those cages. And then the main photo that everyone knew, from what I remember, was a completely made up photo. But they go on here, or they could either choose to separate from their children because of the birth versus here in the United States versus not being birthed in the United States, and then, or they can go back to Russia. But their 8-year-old son was taken away and sent to a shelter for an unaccompanied children. Of course, that is also blatantly lying. So they're trying to apply, they're just going to rip the parents away from their homes, right, and send them off to their home country, and then the children are just going to be thrown in some cage by to fend for themselves. I mean, doesn't that sound like that's exactly what the New York Times is trying to imply? Or what else would you come from reading that sentence? He would be taken away and sent to a children for unaccompanied children, but they're not. See, when people come here illegally, deportation is the due process. And at some point, Supreme Court is going to rule on the birthright citizenship. Now, that was meant for slaves. That was never meant for foreign invaders to come here, pop out children, and then all of a sudden those children are guaranteed American citizenship. And we'll see how the Supreme Court rules soon, but I suspect it's going to go something along those lines. And so when illegal aliens, when they are arrested and sent for deportation, if they have children here, they have two choices. The citizens can stay in this country, or they can go with the non-citizens back to their home country. Those are the two choices that they have. Those are our laws. But the New York Times doesn't like laws because those are the facts get in the way of their feelings. So then they write this beauty here. Federal agents outside ICE facilities in New York, New Jersey, which has been in the headlines a lot because of the congressman who tried to go over the fence. On June 12th, proxy separating families being used by ICE appears to be targeting version of the mass separation of migrant children from their parents during the President Donald Trump's first term. This policy causes global outcry. No, it doesn't. In fact, U is more popular now than when Donald Trump took office. That's, of course, the other part that the New York Times, CNN, and all the others, they don't want to tell you. And this is why all their propaganda is failing over and over again. See, the corporate media they have to have a monopoly on information. Because if they do not have a monopoly of information, then we can do like we just did there and point out all the facts that are lying. Okay, they use terms like migrants or immigrants, right? What was the craziest one I heard? I heard one, it was non-documented citizens. Whatever in the woke nonsense world that is. I don't know. But they have to lie to you to get you to come to these conclusions. And to do that, they have to have a monopoly on information. So there's an entire generation that grew up on the corporate media thinking that they were being neutral journalists when really they were propagandists for the Democrat Party. This being MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, they were all in the bag for the Democrats. They were all team DNC. But there was no real way to gather information out. And so, and probably most of you, for your parents or your grandparents, they would come home from work and they'd turn on the news, or they'd open their newspaper and they think that they were being informed. And then many of them, like many of you, would read this stuff or watch this and goes, well, you know, I don't agree with this. This doesn't really make sense. I believe in law. That people should come here illegally. And if they don't come here illegally, then they should either be stopped from coming here or arrested and deported. In fact, this is very popular with American people. It's why Donald Trump is back in the White House and why it's more popular now than when he first came in the office. But the corporate media, they can't let you know that. And so they'd all run the same pieces together. It was CNN, ABC, all the rest of them, you know the names. And you would think, well, I don't agree with this, but if all the other mainstream media, if they're all saying the same thing, then maybe I'm the one that's weird. You know, maybe I'm the one that's an oddball here. But you weren't. You now and then are most of America. You always have been. Most of America thinks the way that you do. Most of America are independent thinkers. Most of America believe in American exceptionalism. Most of America wants just a better way of life. And to do that, they want our laws enforced. It's really not that complicated, but the Democrats, they can't seem to grasp this concept. Instead, they think because they want power so bad that then they should lie to you, the American people, with hoaxes like this. But now the markets have changed. Now, in large part, thanks to Elon Musk purchasing X, and thanks to places like Rumble, and thanks to other agencies like podcasts and all the other ways, the independent creators are growing at a fast rate. But the Democrats, they're stuck in that old way. They're stuck of used to be able to lie to you, the American people, and market whatever hoax they were trying to hoax, and then the corporate media would push it for them, like here with the migrants, instead of calling them illegal aliens. Or not telling you that Barack Hussein Obama deported 3 million of them, or that Barack Hussein Obama is the one who built the so-called cages. And that Donald Trump is enforcing and obeying our laws. He ran on it, and he won on it, and now he's doing it. And this just gets better for the United States. As we were able to pass the big, beautiful bill and the recessions package, and that added $150 billion to the deportation process. Now that this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because they now, Kristi Noem, I got her in clip 3. So Kristi Noem, she announced that they had over 80,000 people apply for over 10,000 jobs. Take a listen.
Recruitment efforts to hire 10,000 new ICE officers has been extremely successful. Lawrence, as of today, we have over 80,000 applicants for those 10,000 positions already. People and patriots across this country that say, we want to join, we want to help and be a part of this effort. It's overwhelming to see the amount of response and support that our ICE officers have gotten and people who want to join their ranks.
100%. If the corporate media was right, if they're lying to you with saying how this was so terrible with the American people and how the American people didn't want all these deportations, then there wouldn't be 80,000 applicants. that want to go and want to serve their country, be true patriots, and enforce our laws. For that is the definition of law enforcement, right? By the very name. Law enforcement, enforce our laws. However, the Democrats are opposed to law enforcement. They only want certain laws enforced and the other ones ignored. Like coming into our country illegally. They don't want that to be enforced. And they don't want voting laws to be enforced. I wonder why that is. I mean, what is the possible connection between not wanting voting laws, voter ID, and all the illegal aliens that are coming in this country? I mean, it's a mystery wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in an enigma. I can't put it together. I mean, I feel like it's so close, yet I don't know. I can't understand why the Democrats would be so against it. It really blows me away. Maybe you can put it together. Why do you think the Democrats would be opposed to voter ID and opposed to securing our border and be opposed to American citizens, but be very pro illegal alien? No wonder that's 17%. No wonder why corporate media has lost and why the independent creators are growing at a vast rate, like here on the Cash Loren Show. It's for those reasons. And with that, we're going to take this quick gritty break. When we come back, we have Ken Paxton's. We started the show with Texas and how they're adding 5 more seats to the Republican Party. Now, the Democrats like Jasmine Crockett were freaking out. Well, now they are continuing to double down on that, and they are going to hold the Democrats, supposedly to what Ken Paxton said, you're not going to miss this, accountable for fleeing the state to Illinois. As we'll be talking about that and a whole lot more right after this gritty profit break, this is the Cash Loren Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload. Then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcast for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the Cash Loren, and get your 1 free month today. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the Cash Loren Show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider it and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. Well, no, the Democrats, they think that they're entitled to you, the American voters. See, they don't think that they have to go and they have to earn your vote. The Democrats, they think that they are the liberal elite, that they are born to rule. I mean, they shouldn't even have to have elections. I mean, this is about equity, and this is about inclusion, and this is about social justice. Well, greetings, folks. Welcome back to the CASHLOREN Show, as this is exactly how the left thinks. As the very heart of the Democrats is hatred. And through that hatred for you, the American voters, and for this country, they think that you should give them your vote, not because they've earned it, but because of their hatred. I do not doubt this for a single second. That is exactly how the Democrats think. I mean, they don't believe in American exceptionalism. They don't believe in the entrepreneur spirit. The only thing the Democrats believe in is their power. And their power requires that they have absolute rule over you. And that because they are so elite, because they are so much better than you, that they shouldn't even have to justify themselves to you. I mean, they told you how bad Donald Trump was. And they told you all these awful things that would happen if you did it, if you dared and voted for Donald J. Trump. Of course, it was all a lie, but for them, because their ends justify the means, then they can say anything they want. But they can't let you know that. And so then they continue to double down on all the line because it has worked for such a long time. And now this is the result. They are down to 17%, and no one believes corporate media anymore. Welcome to the capitalism. All right, welcome to what we've been saying for decades. As if we just have an open market, right? Because even if you had like CNN, NBC, and all the others, right, they were all Democrat propagandists. So when they're pretending that there's so many different news outlets out there, there wasn't really any. And now that we have the independent creators, we can actually expose all of this. And this has led to them losing all their influence. And now their newest hoax that they're trying to push now is that they're trying to pretend that they're really upset with Texas because Texas is about to add 4 to 5 Republican seats before the midterms. And the Democrats, playing the old way they always have done, they've overplayed their hand again and been on the wrong side of every single issue that matters to the American people. Now, this is coming from Attorney General Ken Paxton. And to do a little bit of a backstory of this, because he is now threatening that he is going to go after the donors who helped the Democrats flee Texas. Okay, so this is when they were going to vote in the House, and that this is very likely going to happen. The Texas has the votes. And so the Democrats, to try to stop this from happening, they went and they fled to Illinois. The irony here is Illinois is probably the most gerrymandered state in all of the United States. I mean, more so than maybe in New York and down to California. But the Democrats, the irony runs thick with them. And so they fled when they were supposed to sit there and do their jobs. And what are they even thinking? I mean, you're elected to Congress. You're elected to represent the people of Texas. So you go and you represent those people, and you win the battles you can win, and you lose the battles that you can't win. Right? And you make the deals that you need to make, but you don't run away because you're going to lose and try to obstruct the will of the American people, because that is exactly what the Democrats did. And what they did is very likely going to be illegal. And now this is even getting worse for them as more and more facts come in. As they have now been trying to push to stay out of Texas, to try to stop this vote before the 2026 election, to add 5 more seats into the Democrat Party. or to the Republican Party, excuse me. And now we're finding out now that there was money that was used this, and they flew in a private jet that costed hundreds of thousands of dollars from the flying. I think it was $15,000 or $17,000 an hour. You just saw the two different numbers coming out. So then the next question is, were they bribed? And that's a fair question to ask, isn't it? I mean, who paid for the plane? Why did they pay for the plane? And what other offers were given? And why Illinois? So this all brings up a lot of very important questions here. And Texas has some very good answers to this. For one of the things, Greg Abbott said, if you don't come back, we're going to remove you from office. And he's already petitioned the Supreme Court now in Texas to do so. And now they're investigating the Democrats. They might be guilty of felony bribery. I mean, if they accepted these out-of-state gifts to obstruct the will of the Texas voters, is that felony bribery? Were they paid? It's a great question. And this is what they're looking into. Now, this is going on from Ken Paxton. As he posted, I have launched an investigation to Beto O'Rourke. So this is the failed Democrat who has tried to run for House, who's tried to run for Senate, who tried to run for governor, who has failed at every time he's tried to run, but he's still around. And that he's saying that he thinks that Beto O'Rourke and that group unlawfully funded the runaway from the Democrats. And now that they're there, that Illinois is now harboring them. And Greg Abbott has also asked the FBI to get involved and bring these Democrats back to Texas to face justice for what they've done. I mean, how many times have we been told that nobody is above the law? Or that if you face a crime, it doesn't matter how rich you are or how connected you are. I mean, isn't that what Hillary Clinton said? No one is above the law. Well, now let's find out if no one's above the law. And J.D. Pritzker, he made a complete fool of himself on also Stephen Colbert show. And I love to play the clip, but especially the late night shows, seems like any other clip, they get copyrighted more than anything else. And so I'm just not going to play the clip because I don't want to copyright on this, but I'd love to play it for you because this part is absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but Stephen Colbert is actually mocking J.D. Pritzker to his face, showing how gerrymandered Illinois is. And J.D. Pritzker, his response, yeah, we handed kindergartner class and let them decide. Isn't that so funny? And this goes especially in the one district that's basically a pinky right through the middle of the state to draw out a seat for the Democrats. But the truth is, for the Democrat Party and for all these journalists, is they don't care one bit about gerrymandering. Not for a single second. What they care about is that only the Democrats can do it and the Republicans can't. But the Republicans now decided, you know what? You've been doing this for a very long time. I mean, you have all these Democrat-controlled states that have roughly 40% or more Republicans in their states. And yet, they have less usually than 20% of the House seats in those states. Why is that? How is that not any more gerrymandered? It's a great question. A very fair question. Oh, now the Republicans are saying, you know what? If you're going to do that, then we'll do it too. Okay, all is fair in love and war. If you're going to gerrymander all these states, then why can't we, the Republicans, why can't we also gerrymander too? What's wrong with that? So now all the red states are starting to get involved. And in addition to that, all the Democrats, as they try to throw temper tantrums, but the reality is their states are already so gerrymandered. What are they going to do? And so now we have Kentucky has jumped in the 2026 redistricting to go and fight back against the Democrats redistricting. Okay, so that's at least one for Kentucky. Texas has 4 or 5. Florida is at least +1. And then Missouri, Nebraska, India can all add 1 more. This in total would add 10 more Republican seats. And why not? Why can we all not play on the same playing field? If they're going to do this for the Democrat Party, the Democrats are going to gerrymander their states to get extra House seats. Then why not make it fair? Why not the Republicans fight back? See, this is the new Republican Party thanks to Donald Trump. The 30-year hold of the neocons, the ones who wanted to lose, being the Republicans in name only, who are more than happy to have the Democrats win. And they wanted just enough authority to make deals for themselves. But yeah, Mitch McConnell, it just wanted just enough Republicans, right, that they can go and make deals with the Democrats for themselves and sell out our country and get themselves richer and richer and richer. That was the old Republican Party. But now we're the new Republican Party. We are the party of MAGA. And the 30-year neocon hold on our country has now come to an end. And this is showing what happens when we go and when we fight back. Just like what Donald Trump did when he fought and won. Even though people like Chuck Schumer and all the others said, if you do this, if you fight back, the intelligence agencies, they got 6 ways of Sunday from getting you. Not anymore. It's Trump truth. Fight, we win. Same thing now with these Democrats, as they're so scared and why they're running their mouths is because Democrats also starting to find out that if we fight back, we win. And now the rest of the Republican Party is finally starting to come and get along too. Good. Welcome to the band. 10 more House seats would be huge. And that's not including the regular vote in 2026, where we have a very good map here in the United States for Republicans. Normally, 2026 being the midterms is very bad for the sitting president. I mean, typically they lose seats and the opposing party gains seats. But 2026 is a very unique year. As the Democrat Party, they have been completely and utterly just gone unpopular. And they're down all the way 17, 19%. In addition to being very unpopular, in addition to being on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue, the Democrats are also facing a very tough map. The Republicans have a very good map in addition to these 10 possible seats. We could see the opposite of what normally happens. We could see a huge blowout in the Republican Party. I dare to dream. I really dare to dream. And so the Democrats, speaking on the House seats and on our elections, they've been so forward to illegal immigration of this country. As we have now here, we have this map. So this is from the Pew Research. And they're saying that they're estimating the undocumented illegal aliens, they call them undocumented immigrants, but they're illegal aliens here in the United States and where they're located. And the spots are just, it really gives away the game, I think. As they estimate here in New York alone, that there are 1.15 million illegal aliens in New York alone. How many votes did Kathy Hochul win by? Interesting. Los Angeles, they think they have over 1 million illegal aliens in Los Angeles. No wonder why they're fighting so hard, right? For Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, when they won't fight for a single American citizen, but they're fighting really hard to keep these illegal aliens here. This is why. Dallas and Houston together they also estimate over 1 million. This is in Texas. This is huge. 1, win back the House seats. And then 2, very good map. And then 3, the more and more illegal aliens that we were able to remove from this country will not be counted in our census. See, that's the part that they don't tell you, and that's the part that they don't want you to know. How many of you knew that our census, when there's counted towards funding and towards House seats, how many of you knew that it's only a head count? How many knew that when you count for the census, there's no requirement to prove that you're a U.S. citizen? Well, then wouldn't that make this the very definition of foreign interference in our elections? It sure seems like it. It's very suspicious how the Democrats rely so heavily and push so hard for legal immigration here in our country, is it really there's some sort of valor or this caring for these illegal aliens, these dreamers? Or is it really about votes? Is that the real answer? And as the Democrats, as they continue to be more and more unpopular, we have this article here. So this is from Breitbart, and this says exclusive. Democrats plan to spend tens of millions of dollars to fund hundreds of content creators. Yeah, gee, you think? So they're going to spend money for propaganda. I mean, that is literally what it says. Or they're going to give these content creators money, and I'm sure these content creators are going to say exactly what the Democrats want them to say. What conclusion could you come from that? I remember about Joe Biden in his administration and Kamala Harris, how they were lying about paying people to influence for them. Remember that all these TikTokers come in, and now Kamala Harris started giving millions of dollars to these concerts and for these interviews, but they weren't paying for influence. Now they're openly bragging about it. Remember that the TikTokers like trying to lie about gas prices for Joe Biden. You find out there's backdoor like NGO money going into them. I wonder how many of these people like on X. I'm sure you know many of the names that run for the Democrats have very large followings. I wonder how much they are being paid. It's a great question. Well, we continue to investigate and find out. But even with all that on their side, when you look at the Democrat Party, right, they have Hollywood in their back pocket. They have almost all the tax dollars through the USAID and through NGOs in their back pockets. They have all the federal unions and that money in their back pockets. They have the entire mainstream media all sipping for the Democrat Party. Yet even with all that in their favor, they still are roughly 50-50 in this country. Imagine if we make it a fair playing ground. That would be really bad for them, obviously. As also the Democrats and their love for the big government is also their love to put on these social welfare programs. And the Democrats, they will lie to them and they will tell you about how this is somehow, for to be good to these people, or somehow supposed to be caring and nurturing. But what it really does in many cases is it creates dependence on the government. And of course, people who are dependent on the government tend to vote for Democrats. So surprise, surprise, right? For nobody. Now, as RFK and as agriculturalists, they're going back and they're fighting against these SNAP. SNAP means Supplemental Nutrition Program. Which, when you read that alone, what would you think? That this is supposed to be for health, right? To eat good foods. And we have these kind of social media programs, these social programs that are supposed to help people. Okay. But instead, what these programs do, when they also create dependence on the government, but then they also, what they're allowed to buy with these programs. I mean, just unlimited sugar. And now RFK and now the agriculture is starting to take that away from SNAP. No more sodas, no more candy bars. Good. So just get rid of all sugar together. Well, I'd love to get rid of welfare programs to very few of those who really, really need it, instead of creating like a government dependence on them. They're also to make it absolutely miserable. I mean, that really is the best interest. So if you're on SNAP, okay, you're not going to starve, but you only get the very, very bare minimums. You can buy, hamburger meat. You can buy rice and beans. Have a very small list that is approved. Right? No sugar, no pizza, nothing fun. Make it absolutely miserable so that people, one, will then not die, because we don't want that. But then also on two, is that they'll want to get off these federal programs so they can buy whatever they like to eat. So that is the best motivation. If you just give people money and they can buy basically whatever they want and they can go in the grocery store, what are they going to do? Of course, they're going to buy the worst stuff possible. Because there's no incentive to do otherwise. I mean, how many people do you see using these who are greatly obese and then have carts full of sugar that they haul home? Let me get this over as I got just a little break there. Oh man, this TikTok thing sometimes it does. I don't know if it can't read my face or something, where it goes. It's going to shut down the live feed unless I slide this puzzle piece over to show I'm still here. So I don't know why the camera isn't recognizing. Maybe I'm not moving enough to show that I'm still here. I try to, so I don't know. Can you keep more hand movements going? But as I got distracted for a second, is that, do you think this is right? This shutdown snap. And I just realized I am way over again and start talking about all this stuff. So the rest of the stories are going to go back in the stack. I really thank every single one of you for being on the show. As we're going to continue the after show here, we're going to continue on TikTok, see how long that goes. And then also we're going to try to get Rumble as the premium going as well. As we got, I think I got the main part working now, is working with Rumble. And now as we've upgraded all our equipment, we're now going to try to continue on TikTok. So if you want to get involved on TikTok and join the conversation, raise your hand. I'll bring you up here in just a moment. And again, thank you for every single one of you for watching. The rest of the stories will go back in the stack. We'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Other than the after show, see you there. This is the Cash Loren Show.